what other things are in there that for people to do?
Yeah, so the book is actually in 3 parts. I don't know if you'll be able to see this because it'll probably, no, you can't. I'll read it to you. Part 1 is about the art of the possible, which looks at how do leaders change culture and what's possible and how we do that. Part 2 is about 2 things. It's those 7 core shifts that I've just named, but alongside that, we've also listed 70 simple practices. And that's a whole bunch of different ideas that people have tried and used in churches around the country to help nurture the ministry of evangelism within the life of our congregations. And we've divided those into 5 areas: ideas for church leaders in the modeling of sharing their faith, ideas for church leaders to encourage others in sharing their faith, ideas for leaders of worship services, ideas for PCCs and group councils or equivalent bodies, and then 5thly, ideas for leaders of church groups of all ages. So there's 70 simple ideas that you can just read through and go, oh, that's a good one. We could try that as well. And again, of course, it's not that we're suggesting you try and do all 70. As you read through the book, just pick out 1 or 2 that might be helpful for your group leaders, for example, or for your PCC or governance body or whatever it might be. And then part 3 is both in the book, but also online. So part 3 is some guides around some things that we think might be helpful. And then online, and I'll, if I may just share, if I can make this work, the online stuff that we're creating as well. Here we go. Once you get the book, you get a link to a bunch of resources that we have put online, and they're in basically 3 different areas. There are some videos which are here. And there's one which sort of introduces the book a little bit more fully. There's one about that small shifts and big changes that you could show, for example, your PCC or your leadership group or whoever you work with. There's also one about a church leader telling their story of how they've nurtured a faith-sharing culture. A really interesting interview with Sue, who's recently started as an incumbent in a couple of churches and the work she's doing to nurture a faith-sharing story. And over the course of the rest of this year, we'll be adding more videos on there, lots of little things that might help you. And then there's this section here. We're going to be running 4 webinars between now and the summer, each of them 45 minutes long, each of them around some of those core shifts. So you'll probably not be able to see easily on the screen there, but webinar 1 is around the engaging with God practice, and that's on the 28th of April. Webinar 2 is going to look at Pray for 5 and refocus your intercessions. And that's on the 15th of May. Webinar 3 is on practicing faith conversations and telling faith stories. That's on the 9th of June. And webinar 4 is on resourcing faith sharing and budgeting for evangelism. And that's on the 23rd of June. And in these webinars, we'll just go a little bit deeper into each of the practices and share more stories and ideas about how can we make this actually work in our churches. And you'll get links to all of this information following today. And then the third area that we've put online is a whole bunch of additional materials. So all the practices that are in the book are also summarized on PDFs that you can download and send to people in your church who you think might be interested. If you've decided to work on a particular practice, you can download that practice and share it with others. There's some wider resources to help. There's some prayer cards related around the Pray for 5. There's some materials there for your PCC or your governing body around budgeting. There's some articles on some deeper aspects of thinking about the ministry of evangelism. And then there's a link to another page where there's a whole bunch of other materials as well. And again, we'll be adding to these materials. So what we've done is we're sort of creating a resource, which isn't just the book, it's a bigger project than that. And in a sense, what we're inviting you to do is to join a community of practice. We hope you'll sign up for the community of practice, and every month we'll be sending a little email out with some further ideas and resources and encouraging you to tell us your stories that we can share with others for encouragement. So it's a sort of a big piece of work that we're going to be working on over the next year or so.